China is a powerhouse of this crucial technology, and its mobile industry is thriving. In a similar fashion, the US decided to make an early bet on the internet, and today this country is home of all GAFA companies. My belief is that we Europeans need to do the same. We must craft a shared vision of where we want to be in 30 years from now, and then build together a roadmap to reach that goal. And for that, foresight is the perfect tool to achieve it. But from my point of view, there's something else that foresight can do for us. This method can help us not only to plan for the future, but to believe in it, which is also very important, to believe in our common future. In the 18th century, our ancestors of the Enlightenment created a concept that changed the world, a concept that carried within itself not only a new vision of the past, but also of the future, the notion of progress. That is the firm belief that societies can advance towards more prosperous and egalitarian forms through education, science, technology, collective work, and reason. And this belief in progress allowed our ancestors to overcome their differences, to join their efforts, and to get out the best of themselves, even in the hardest moments. It propelled all the important transformation of modern age, from the French Revolutions to the Treaty of Rome. Today, however, the notion of progress is being challenged, and the ability of societies to advance is being questioned by pessimistic and negationist movements. Surveys reveal that the majority of Europeans believe that their socioeconomic conditions will worsen in the coming decades, and that the younger generations will have worse lives than their parents. To me, this is the biggest threat, not only for my country, but also for the European Union. This lack of faith, not in the future of the European Union as a political project, but in the future in general, is a time bomb placed at the heart of our democracies and our common project, which is the European Union. That is weakening social cohesion, damaging economic growth, fueling the loss of trust in institutions, and plunging our entire population into darkness. It is making us less creative, more cowardly, more individualistic, and therefore less generous. It is making us challenge not only the things that are not working, but also those that are working. We need to fight this back, not only because it is our duty as public officials, as politicians, but because it is factually incorrect. Data shows that the European Union has significant weaknesses and challenges ahead. This is true. Nobody denies that. But it also shows, that the European Union has powerful strengths that proved crucial in the past and that will be undoubtedly crucial in the decades ahead too, if we know how to use them properly. Let's not forget that the European Union is the largest and more open economy in the world, an economy that is capable not only of producing more wealth than any other region, but also capable of distributing it better among its citizens and generating less impact on the environment, as the latest environmental performance index shows. In my opinion, the European Union ranks at the top of the most indicators of welfare, social mobility, civil rights, and institutional strengths, and it is home to the most educated and trained workforce of the planet. These facts speak not only about a glorious past, of course, but also about the possibilities of a bright future. Not to rest on our laurels or justify our mistakes and indecision as public servants, but to find in it the strength we need to make the structural change that the European Union urgently demands in green transition, digitalization, social cohesion, territorial cohesion, and equality between women and men. We have 700,000 million opportunities in our hands, and to make them, the most of them, we need to look forward. We need to build a vision of the region that we want to be in the 2030, but also in the 2050, and find in that vision the glue, the real glue. We need to unite our societies again and bring the European Union project to the next stage. In a nutshell, we need to make optimism fashionable again, not only because it is what our citizens need, especially in these very complex days of pandemic, but because progress is what the European Union is made of. So I really appreciate the effort that, of course, Diego in Spain, but also Vice President Šefčovič leading in the European institutions. I think that this exercise that we are opening as a new culture of decision-making policy, we are, about to or starting all together, because really I believe that this exercise, this common exercise, is fundamental for the better future, for the best future of our common project. So thank you very much, Vice President.
Thank you very much, dear President, dear Pedro. I really would like to thank you for your very clear and very impactful words. As España 2050 strategy recognizes, we are facing an enormous array of challenges that demand very different policy approach. Climate change, new technologies, misinformation, demographic change, an unstable geopolitical landscape, and of course, a global pandemic you referred to so eloquently. And Europe needs a resilient society, one that is able to react to cope with new challenges as pandemic has shown. As we cannot expect the future to become any less disruptive, any less complicated, strategic foresight indeed can help us to anticipate these profound changes and ensure that we are better prepared for them. I therefore welcome very much the España 2050 as an excellent example how we should approach the use of strategic foresight, and I see it as a major contribution to our joint foresight efforts in Europe. I'm sure that the lessons we can draw from your work will act as a blueprint for other member states in their effort to further develop their national foresight capabilities. First, as you said, and I agree with you, it's not too early to start thinking about 2050. The future is direct result of what we are doing today, how we are acting these weeks. Second, that in doing so, we should reject pessimism and embrace a positive narrative about how we face our common future. Our message to our citizens should be one of optimism for the future and not the traditional fashion of intellectual skepticism. For instance, your strategy divides the member states into 3 groups based on their performance, the number of economic, social, and environmental indicators. And it then highlights what Spain should do in the next 30 years to keep up with the highest performing group. And it uses past achievement, for instance, the Spain's track record improving its PISA results as a basis to say that this convergence scenario is within the reach. And I very much like your iron logic behind it. Why do you believe that we can do it in the future? Because we already did it in the past. And therefore, I think we have to remind, as you did, to all our fellow Europeans what Europe has accomplished over the last 30, 50 years, that indeed we are the #1 economy in the world. We have the best trained labor force. We have a strong well-being standards established, and that's our strength and that's our contribution to the future. And this leads me to the third lesson that we can draw from your work, that thinking long-term and embedding foresight into today's policy requires a great deal of political commitment, the personal investment, as well as very, very careful planning. One of the reasons why I'm so keen on building foresight alliances throughout Europe, across the EU institutions and the member state, is to join forces in overcoming these obstacles. Your España 2050 strategy shows the way. It's ambitious, it's comprehensive, and it focuses on 9 challenges and priorities that are highly relevant, not just for Spain's future, but for the future of all of Europe. And in this way, your plan also points to the strong synergies between our respective work strengths, and here I would just stress 3 concrete areas. The first, green jobs. España 2050 focuses on better education and the upskilling and reskilling of the population to accompany green and digital transitions. New kinds of jobs will be creating, and existing jobs will change and evolve. And many of these jobs will indeed be green ones in areas such as low carbon, smart transport, sustainable agriculture, or circular economy. For example, it could mean micro-farmers producing food more sustainably, closer to where it is needed, or intelligence engineers fostering changes in consumption patterns to support the green transition. But this also means strong investment in up and reskilling to support employees through their professional life, from helping young people enter the job market to ensuring new opportunities for those already in the workforce. An example of this work came in May of this year, a couple of weeks ago, when we launched the IBA 250 Academy under the umbrella of the European Battery Alliance, together with the Spanish government. Again, you've been the first and you've been the pioneer to use this EU incubator InnoEnergy to work closely with universities, trade unions and companies with very lofty and important aim to train up to 150,000 workers in Spain by 2025 to meet the fast-growing needs of the batteries ecosystem so that our automotive industry can stay in the lead. And with this in mind, the Commission is currently exploring future scenarios for green jobs and skills needed for the transition, and how drivers of change might affect the skills of the future and our investment policies. Second aspect I would like to highlight is the focus you put on resilience and well-being. España 2050 aims to boost Spain's collective resilience so that the country can emerge stronger from the pandemic. Strategy refers to 50 quantitative targets and indicators as a basis to design lines of actions for concrete measures and monitoring progress in the coming years. You also stressed that well-being should be taken into account, as GDP alone does not provide the comprehensive picture. And I think we also felt that it was very much supported by the conclusions of the social summit in Porto. And therefore, I just would like also to inform you that we are fully aligned with your approach, that to foster resilience, we also need to be able to measure it, to monitor it. And that is why we are developing the resilience dashboard, which we proposed in our first annual strategic foresight report last September in close cooperation with the member states. We believe that this work will also contribute to the evaluation of well-being beyond conventional economic measures like GDP. And I believe that we will be working very closely on this together, because also your strategy is recognizing that this is the gap and we need to fill it up. And therefore, our strategic foresight report of this year would be focusing on another big theme, and this would be geopolitical dimension of resilience. And third, if you allow, the President, the focus on European territories. Your long-term strategy underlines the need for balanced, fair and sustainable territorial development. And this is also one of the objectives of EU cohesion policy and programs. And it's true that Europe's urban, rural and remote areas will be affected by the challenges we are currently facing. For example, 27 million people in Spain, as it's highlighted in the report, will live in zones under water stress, marked by possible water scarcity. So making use of sustainable water resources is critical for Spain, and I know quite a few member states who face very similar challenges. And therefore, we've been focusing our foresight work and our newsletter on European territories, linked to the upcoming communication on the long-term vision of rural areas, which looks into the future implications of some of these issues, and we are going to publish it very soon. So to conclude, dear President, dear Pedro, I think that we must continue to strengthen our strategic foresight cooperation and build alliances across the Union. Your plan very clearly offers us a clear way forward in this respect. It aims for competitive sustainability in Spain's future economy and society, and I really would like to congratulate you and your team on your work. I also hope that today's event is important as a tangible example of the clear benefits of the close cooperation between the EU institutions and the member states. And of course, I hope that we will have more of the opportunities like we have today, where the member states can present the state-of-art foresight strategies. And in this, I'm very glad that it was you, Pedro, and Spain who showed us the lead. And I believe that this would be also very welcome contributions to make sure that EU-wide foresight network, this network of ministers for future, which we established together with Juana in Coimbra in Portugal, will do its work and will be very motivated by today's example. Because we want this network to grow, the clusters with the member states to be stronger, and bring the topics which are very important for policy takers and decision makers. So to really conclude, I really would like to thank you once again for coming here, for sharing with us your plans for 2050, and I believe that through this we are demonstrating that our actions in the present can help shape future that Europe and Europeans want and deserve. So thank you very much, Pedro. I don't know how much you are pressed by time. Yeah, I know the Prime Minister always is pressed by time, but if we can benefit from your presence for one or two questions from the audience, I'm sure there will be.